All right, we're diving into something that is just essential for anyone who makes things for other humans. We're cracking open the psychology behind great design using Dr. Susan Weinshank's incredible book, 100 Things Every Designer Needs to Know About People, as our guide. This is going to be fun.
Think about it. You've had both of these experiences, right? An app that just gets you, and a website that makes you want to, I don't know, just give up on technology forever. That feeling, whether it's pure magic or total frustration, that's not an accident. That is design. So here's the big idea for today. Let's imagine the human mind is an operating system. Seriously, it has its own rules, its own processing limits, its own weird bugs. And if you think about it that way, then great design isn't some kind of mysterious magic. Nope. It's just really good code written specifically for our built-in mental OS. Okay, so like any operating system, it all starts with input. And for us humans, that's mostly vision. But here's the twist. How we see things is not at all as simple as you'd think. It's kind of tricky. You need to get this straight. What your eyes see is not what your brain gets. Not even close. Your eyes are getting blasted with something like 40 million sensory inputs every single second. It's a fire hose of raw data. Your brain just can't process all of that, so you know what it does? It cheats. It creates shortcuts, it looks for patterns, and it basically makes a really good guess about what you're seeing. And for a designer, that changes literally everything. You're not creating a pixel-perfect image for a camera to record. You're creating a set of clues for a brain that is actively trying to solve a puzzle as fast as it can. If you give it the patterns and shortcuts it's looking for, your design feels intuitive, almost invisible. But if you fight against that, it just feels like work. And speaking of the brain's interpretation, here's a number that every single designer should have tattooed on the back of their hand: 9%. That is the percentage of men who have some form of color vision deficiency. Think about that. That's almost 1 in 10 guys who see your beautiful color palette completely differently. So, the main takeaway for the input module is dead simple. Your brain is a guessing machine, and a huge chunk of your audience sees color differently. So the rule is, you can never, ever rely on color alone to communicate something important. You have to use icons, text labels, patterns, something else to make sure everybody gets the message. All right, so the visual information is in. Now what? What does our mental OS actually do with it? Well, now we get into processing. We're talking cognitive load and why you have to respect the brain's very real, very hard limits. One of the most powerful tools in your toolbox for this is a technique called progressive disclosure. The idea is brilliant in its simplicity. Don't just dump everything on the user all at once. That's a recipe for overwhelm. Instead, you show them only what they need right when they need it. You see this flow all the time in great design. You start with the big picture, give them clear choices. They click, and you reveal a little more detail. They click again, and then you give them the super detailed stuff if they want it. MailChimp is a master of this. They don't hit you with every feature on the homepage. They guide you, step by step, from the simple to the complex. It feels effortless. And this brings me to a huge design myth that we just need to destroy right now. The 3-click rule? It's nonsense. It's dead. People do not mind clicking. They really don't. What they mind is thinking. As long as each click is confident and gets them closer to their goal, they'll click all day. Your job isn't to reduce clicks, it's to reduce cognitive load. And speaking of how much our brains can handle, let's blow up another famous myth. You've probably heard this one a million times. The magical number 7 plus or minus 2. The idea that we can hold about 7 items in our short-term memory. Well, turns out that's pretty much an urban legend. The real number, based on more modern research, is 4. That's it. We can really only hold about 3 or 4 chunks of information in our working memory at any given time. Now think about what that means for your navigation bars, your bullet points, your feature lists, everything. 4 is the new magic number. So we've talked about how our mental OS gets information and how it processes it. But what makes it actually do something? What makes us click or scroll or buy? Well, now we're talking about action. We're getting into motivation, the deep primal drives that make us tick. So let me ask you this. What do you think is more powerful than getting a reward? I mean, the obvious answer is nothing, right? The reward is the whole point. But that's not how our brains are wired. There's something way more powerful at play here.
It's the anticipation of the reward. This is all driven by a little neurotransmitter you've probably heard of, dopamine. But here's the big misunderstanding. Dopamine isn't the pleasure chemical, it's the seeking chemical. It's the gas in the engine that drives us to go explore, to hunt, to search for information. It's the feeling of wanting, and it is a much, much stronger motivator than the feeling of liking what you actually get. And you can put this seeking system on steroids. So a predictable reward is nice, right? Like a coffee shop punch card. Buy 10 coffees, get one free. You know what's coming. But an unpredictable reward? That creates a compulsion. When you don't know when the reward is coming, only that it might show up at any moment, well, that's a slot machine. And that is the infinite scroll on your social media feed. And that right there, that's the core engine of the modern digital world. That little red notification dot, the buzz in your pocket from a new text, those are cues that a reward might be waiting for you. The sheer unpredictability of it is what has us constantly checking, constantly pulling that lever, again and again and again. It is an incredibly powerful dopamine loop.
Okay, wow. So we've taken a quick tour through the input, processing, and action modules of our mental OS. So let's bring it all home. What are the absolute must-know rules for designing for the human brain?
It really boils down to three things. First, how people see. Your design is just a suggestion. The user's brain is the one that actually creates the final picture. Second, how people think. Respect their limits. Remember, the magic number is 4, not 7. Your job is to guide, not overwhelm. And finally, how people act. The hunt for the reward is almost always more powerful than the reward itself.
Because at the end of the day, the best, most elegant, most human-centered design isn't about packing in more features or adding flashy animations. It's about having a deep, fundamental respect for the operating system that we all come pre-installed with. Once you start to understand these rules, this source code for the human mind, you can go beyond just making things that look good. You can start making things that just feel right. So the only question left is, now that you know the code, what are you going to build with it?